Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Hi, everyone. I hope this finds you in good health and secure. Thank you for liking and subscribing these videos. It helps to support the algorithms and grow our Sangha. We have new members. Welcome. Don't forget there's a video on the home page of this channel to instruct you on how to use the search engine and all the various ways to use this, as well as the other website resources for your practice. All right. Now, I often talk about language and translations and how misleading simple words can be, and I've done a lot in my own republications of other translations of the Gosho, for instance. I haven't messed with the Lotus Sutra. Maybe I should go back and look at that. But I've done there's a playlist for these different sutras. The Lotus lectures, for instance, on the Lotus Sutra. I go through every page of the introductory chapter as well as all 28 and so on. But I wanted to bring up a word that I've changed and I haven't talked about. It's all over the literature that's meant for Westerners to read. The cultures, no matter what country it is, the religious imposition on the minds of people for thousands of years, use this word blessings. And I refuse to use it. I keep running into it, and I have converted that into rewards. And here's why. And this is a good example, just one word, so you understand why I'm so adamant about this as we discuss any scholarship of Buddhism, not just Nichiren, but all of it, right? Blessings is a word that it has the characteristics of being given something, right? All day long, I'm living in the South. There's always somebody several times a day, have a blessed day or bless you. This is an arrogant act of power that supposes that something is bequeathed to you that you didn't previously have. Without any further linguistics or arguments about it, that's basically it. I don't think you could argue out of that. And it doesn't belong in Buddhism at all. And here's why. And I'll just state these facts without going ad nauseum into it. If you've studied Buddhism for any period of time, certainly if you've watched any of the videos on this channel, you know Nichiren has said, Shakyamuni has said, every scholar since Shakyamuni has said, Buddhahood is innate. Nobody's given it to you. You don't have to go in search of it. It's in you. It's your mental experience of truth. So nobody's handing that to you. It's already there. You're handing it to you in a way because you're the one obfuscating it. You're in the way of knowing Buddhahood. That's the actual situation. And we practice to get our samsaric mind of delusions out of the way, not to replace it, right? Not to go find Buddhahood. It's already going on now. So to discover it isn't to be blessed with it. It's a reward. It's a self-reward, the most important kind of reward. This is something missing in a lot of cultures today. We can talk about education, not teaching our children critical thinking. But one of the other things we're not teaching our children is self-respect, dignity. Where does that come from? Nobody gives you dignity. You have to discover your innate value as a human being, moment to moment to moment to moment. That's the reward. When we talk about the three bodies of Buddha, we're not talking about three Shakyamunis standing in front of us, or any insert name here, Buddha. We're talking about three aspects of ourselves. The reward body is simply the body aware. The reward of your efforts is understanding your capacity, which for whatever reason you didn't realize before. That's why it's a reward. If you already know it, it's not a reward. Achieving something new, that's rewarding. Right? It's so simple. If you understand Buddhism. Now, flip side of that is, oh my goodness, how much misunderstanding and stupidity is there out there about Buddhism? That this is not understood. How is it not understood? When Shakyamuni was so specific about it all the time, right? Nagarjuna, Vasubandhu, Tendai, Miaolo, Dengyo, Nichiren, every scholar we read nails this constantly. How is the translations? That's where the problem is. These translators, some Buddhists, some not, all putting this layer of cultural baloney on top of what is a very clear teaching. My friends, that is the very reason for the existence of this Sangha. We're not going to tolerate that. We're going to talk Buddhism as is, real, clear, as much as I can possibly be conscious of the distortions to clear them up so that we are square on the teachings of Shakyamuni Buddha. So, the title of this next Go Show is The Place of the Cluster of Rewards. Right away, you know that's not Santa coming to give you pretty boxes. This isn't coming from a mist of benevolence. This is self-achievement, the place of the cluster of rewards. Just knowing what we just talked about makes that title clear, doesn't it? If it said blessings, you'd be the cluster of who, how, where's this come from? Lost it. I get upset about this because it is the enemy of our enlightenment. Simply put. Nichiren begins, I have received the rice you've sent from Tonoaka. I used it as an offering for the services for the deceased ancestors in the 7th month of this year. Not only the monks who participated, but the assembly gathered at Eagle Peak, Shakyamuni Buddha, and the deities must surely have accepted your offering and be rejoicing. Here's this dual speak that we hear constantly. Don't be confused by it. Nichiren is very thankful for the offering that was sent to him. He's very clear that, yes, he'll benefit from the nutrition of the rice you sent. But the reason he invokes for enjoying the sustenance that was sent to him is not for him personally, though his body needs sustenance. It is for his attitude and intent that his body being sustained is the whole point, so that he can continue to be the votary of the Lotus Sutra. Not only that, but he's saying we had a ceremony where many monks that were able to travel to gather here participated in this ceremony for previous deceased, extinct relatives whose karma still, our version of it, our attachment to it, still lives within our karmic engine, right? We understand this. When we have this ceremony, it's so that we can pay tribute to the formative energies that constitute us, who we are, right? We're not praying to a grave. We're praying to a living aspect of those people's influence in our karma. And so he shared that rice because everyone came over to his place for the party and fed everyone. But it wasn't Nichiren feeding them. It was very clear that this offering made to him as votary of the Lotus Sutra was shared amongst all of those who were assembled in a ceremony about Myoho Geikyo. Again, about this teaching. So all the way through, this honors the gift made by you, or whoever sent him the rice in this case, to know that their gift is being there's a dignity to the gift. It's not just a, here's a quarter, go buy yourself some bubble gum. It gave the giver more meaning, more dignity, more respect, more value for their gift, edifying them for making that offering. Just dignity and respect all the way through, yes? No blessings going on here. Rewards for actions taken. This is how the whole universe works. Certainly how Buddhism works. I'm going to get off this kick here soon. It is difficult to express in words my appreciation for your unfailing sincerity and for your frequent visits. Well, this is exactly what I'm talking about. There's no misunderstanding here. In any event, there can be no doubt about your enlightenment in your future. Above all, I remember how in the 8th year of Bunen era, 1271, when I incurred the wrath of the authorities and was about to be beheaded at Tatsunokuchi in the province of Sagami, you held onto the reins of my horse, accompanying me barefoot and shedding tears of grief. You were even prepared to give your life had I in fact been executed. In what lifetime could I possibly forget it? Ah, that's a clue. You know who this letter's written to, don't you? And that is not all, he continues. Exiled to the island of Sado, buried as I was beneath snows from the northern sea and exposed to winds from the northern peaks, it hardly seemed I would survive. I mean, the intent of sending him to Sado was to let him die on his own, since they were unsuccessful in killing him. Send him to that desolate place, he'll freeze to death. Let him die on his own. Damn pest, right? Cast away even by my comrades of long standing. I thought that I could no more return to my birthplace than a stone on the bottom of the ocean, requiring the strength of 1,000 men to move it, could float to the surface. Ordinary person that I am, how many times have I pointed out his humility? Ordinary person that I am, this is Nichiren talking, writing. I naturally longed for the people of my native village, right? I'm a samsaric being. I have attachments to parents, family, friends. And when you're facing death, you kind of think about them. For you, a lay person, pressed for time in your Lord's service, he's a samurai, so he's constantly being watched. To have resolute conviction in the Lotus Sutra is itself very rare. Moreover, surmounting mountains and rivers and crossing the great blue sea, you came to visit me from afar. How could your resolve be inferior to that of the man who broke open his bones at the City of Fragrances, or of the boy who threw away his body on snow mountains? Now, those are references to expedient means, to stories, right? But he's tying in those expedient means, those lessons, to actual experience. That's what they're for. Again, for my part, though there was so little chance of rising again in the world, for some reason or other I was pardoned in the spring of the 11th year of Bunei and was able to return to Kamakura. It's like boggles the mind. He survived Sato. He was supported on Sato Island by those who saw him as a truthful monk standing against the corruption of the day in government, in religion, in teachings, in laws, right? A very authoritarian state, not humane. On pondering the meaning of these affairs, I believe I must now be free from the karma of past offenses. I must have influenced with my mission in life all of that karma in me that was manifesting difficulties. I must have assuaged it, somehow moved it into karma that supports me rather than works against my samsaric life, because my dedication in life is so life-affirming, right? This is the seesaw of karma. There's not good karma, bad karma. It's our influence on the freight train of karma that we are instantiations of moment to moment to moment to moment to moment. And in those same moments, we have choices. You want to put a number to it? 3,000 realms in each thought moment. How many realms did you just sift through? Innumerable, right? On pondering the meaning of these affairs, I believe I must now be rid of the effects, if you will, of those early actions, those early tendencies and conditions in the karma of which I am an instantiation of, would be a more correct way to say it. If you understand Buddhism, it is. Once I was almost deprived of life. In the Kocho era, I was exiled to the province of Izu, and in the Bunei era to the island of Sato. Because I remonstrated repeatedly with the authorities, I have encountered one persecution after another. Yet for that very reason, I have certainly already escaped the charge of betraying the Shakyamuni Buddha's teachings. Right? Because I was remonstrating for humanity, for the correct practice of Buddhism, for Buddhahood, for the dignity of life, the engine of life itself. Right? A lot of people might get angry at you for pointing to the emperor and saying the emperor is naked. Again, the reference to that story, the emperor's new clothes. If you're not familiar with it, it's a childhood fable. Read it. It's really, really mirrors the messages in Nichiren's letters all the time. As Buddhists, we are that kid in the crowd going, no, I call bullshit. He's naked. And what Nichiren is saying is, when you have the chutzpah to point out the truth, the real, there's always going to be a bunch of people who want to bury you. Shut up. Go along to get along, right? There's thousands of examples of that kind of behavior. But as Buddhists, we cannot, will not, should not acquiesce to that. You just got to be ready to take the anger. You cannot be afraid, because the anger is wrong. It's misled. In fact, it may be that the anger is like the pus out of a pimple that needs to express itself so that that very source of that anger self-reflects. And in that way, you've taught them. They begin to open their freaking eyes. It may take a long time. But that can't be the reason you speak. It should not influence the reason you speak. You should always be focused on the truth, reality, the here and now, the value of life, Otherwise, you're going to die not knowing what it was like to have lived. Is that what you want? Who wants that? Live your life fully right now. There's no space or time for bullshit. Get real. Right? Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. To not do it, as he says in his last sentence, I certainly already escaped the charge of betraying Shakyamuni Buddha's teachings. Because to go along to get along, to not say what needs to be said, is a betrayal, right? Non-action is an action. Every thought, word, or deed is an action. It influences karma. Are you influencing karma toward humanity, the instantiation of the maximal experience of life? Or are you Are you living meh? Is that your life? Is that what we'll put on your urn? Meh. She lived life meh. I think I took a drama pill this morning. However, when I desired to leave the world for this mountain forest to pursue the way, people voiced differing opinions. This is travel to Minobu, right? Nevertheless, for reasons I had carefully considered, I came to this mountain in this province where I have already passed 7 springs and autumns. So this is late in Nichiren's life. I wonder what the date is. 1280, 2 years before he passed away. So yeah, he ended up in Mount Minobu to start his seat of dissemination, right? He was a traveling evangelical, if you will, but a monk, not of religion, a monk of Buddhism, of clarity, right? And then Mount Minobu is this remote region, it was at the time anyway, where he could retire. He couldn't travel like he used to. So he set up a base where he could set about training his 6 senior disciples to take over for him. He was preparing for his death, yeah? Setting aside for now the question of my wisdom in enduring hardship and in suffering injury as an ally of the Lotus Sutra, I surpass even the great teacher Tendai of China and excel even the great teacher Dengyo of Japan. He's not saying he's better than them. He's saying in the retributions that he's had to face, being a votary of the Lotus Sutra, in this latter age, they are from earlier age, right? Middle age of the law. He has incurred more direct threats to his life, being staunchly teaching the ultimate teaching of the Lotus Sutra. Dengyo taught the Lotus Sutra. Tendai is all about Lotus Sutra. But the core, the teachings that Nichiren is teaching for our experience, our world of incredible distraction, so direct, then the mirror in society, the response in society is equally direct. More so than it was in the ages before. That's what he's saying. This is because the time has made it so. Exactly what I just said. If indeed I am a votary of the Lotus Sutra, then Shakyamuni, the Lord of Teachings of Eagle Peak, that thus come one many treasures of the world of the treasure purity, right, the treasure tower. The Buddhas of the 10 directions, all Buddha-ness in other words, are Shakyamuni's emanations, the great bodhisattvas of the essential teachings, the great bodhisattvas of the theoretical teachings, Brahma, Shakra, the dragon deities, and the 10 demon daughters must all be present in this place. Where there is water, fish dwell. Where there are woods, birds gather. On the mountain island of Penglai, there are many jewels, and on Mount Malaya, sandalwood trees grow. There is gold in the mountains from which the river Li Shui flows. Now this place, Minobu, too, is like that. It is the place of the cluster of rewards, where the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas dwell. That's quite a statement. What he's saying is, as I was alluding to earlier, I have established the center of propagation for these teachings and my doctrine of these teachings here at Mount Minobu. This is now the center, the place of propagation from which, radiating outwards throughout Japan and the world, are the clear, direct teachings. Just as a side note, not Mount Fuji, Minobu, Nichiren declares to be the center of propagation. The rewards of the Lotus Sutra, which I have recited over these many years, must be vaster even than the sky. Thus, by having come here frequently, year after year, it is certain that within this lifetime you will eradicate the karmic hindrances you have accumulated since the beginningless past. You should exert yourself all the more. Now that's an important translation and sentence as well. How can the same translator who said this or wrote this not understand what I was saying earlier about rewards versus benefits? Listen carefully. You will eradicate the karmic hindrances you have accumulated since the beginningless past. What are karmic hindrances? It's the karma from which you are formed. Not all of it is shiny and bright. Some of it leads to trouble, right? Just like chemistry. Many chemicals in our human state are beneficial to our bodies, to the functioning of our bodies, brains, nervous cells, blood, so on and so forth. And yet there are some chemicals, acids, radioactive materials, whose properties are super deleterious to our life. They're not deleterious to everything, but to our living tissue, they certainly are. So we without talking about it all the time, we gravitate toward foods, products to build our homes, make our clothes, chemistry that is friendly and supportive, right, of our flesh, of our digestive systems, on and on and on. Is this not what the entire business of pharmacology is about? Or materials science? Or clothing? I don't see anyone running around in a steel wool blazer. Yeah? Or a hydrochloric acid t-shirt. I don't think those would sell well. Right? It just seems so, basic nature. But truthfully, karma is the same situation. So we want to cultivate the life-affirming, life-supporting karma, the energy manifesting that is life-affirming, and the stuff that isn't, we either want to take the acids and put some baking soda in them and nullify them and make them calm, or we want to get rid of them altogether. Is it making sense? Please let me know in the comments if this isn't working for you. Give me an example of why or how you're not getting it. I talk about it all the time, I I assume you haven't seen over the 1,000 videos that are on this channel. I don't even know how many there are anymore. I know there's over 1,000. Right? So I talk about this stuff all the time. It's not always easy to find. But that's okay. We can talk about it again and again because there's new members. There's subscribers. Members, I think, Sangha, not YouTube, right? So there's some of you have been with me for years. But that doesn't mean you've seen every video or that you remember everyone. We're in different life states over the years, and we may have seen something and gotten useful information from it and missed something else entirely. That's just the nature of samsara, how our mind works. So I don't mind talking about that. You'll see there are several videos on seemingly the same topic. I say something different in them because everyone needs to hear in their own time, in their own language, in their own minds, in the state that they're in, different words to spark insights. So let's talk about it again. It's okay. No problem. All right. That's it for this rather short letter written to Shijo Nakatsukasa Sabura Saimon, otherwise known as Shijo Kingo, right? And the next one will be on lessening one's karmic retribution. I don't like that word retribution for the same reason I don't like the word blessings. So I changed it in the revised. If you get this ebook on threefoldlotus.com, you will see it does not say retribution. What it says is repercussions. What's the difference? Repercussions are a natural result in the universe of an occurrence, right? Every cause and effect. You throw a pebble in the water, the repercussion is the surface of the water is disturbed, right? Waves of energy radiate out from where the rock penetrated the water, where there's a change of state from air to water. Compression happens, sound happens, all sorts of things, right? All of those things are repercussions of that act. They're not retributions. They're not because you did this, this is what happens to you. That has a right and wrong implication to it, doesn't it? Oh, you're going to get it. That's not how Buddhism works. Yeah, there are repercussions to all acts. There are, it's another way to say it, consequences. Consequences aren't good or bad or judgment or imposed upon you. They're simply the process of a response from an act. It's just another way of talking about karma, influence to instantiate a different potential. There's no judgment in that. There's only an experience in that. Is the experience enjoyable or is it not? As Nichiren says, enjoy what there is to enjoy and deal with what there is to suffer and move on. We're endeavoring to minimize the suffering part and largely capitalize on the joy part. Gee, how difficult is that? It's up to you, right? Always. Buddhism puts everything squarely back on you and your experience, your mind. An amazing thing, sometimes a little overwhelming, but it's up to you. So, lessening one's karmic repercussions. It's probably not a good word to suit what I'm talking about there. I haven't come up with it anyway. Maybe one of you scholars out there can let me know. In the meantime, all of this means take care of yourself. right? Be kind. That doesn't cost you anything. Like and subscribe. If it's helpful, please get an ebook off threefoldrose.com. Lots of free information there too. Or get a print book if you prefer, right? Get yourself a proper mandala. Download the free podcast. Whatever you need to keep you confident, secure in your practice. That's everything. So thank you for that. I'll see you in the next one. Of that I guarantee you. Bye for now.